He has a drug problem. Who's the main producer and writer of the show?
It's a woman, isn't it?
Seth Rogen, a white Jewish man.
Take modern gaming down, blah, 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 blah. Oh, they told us not to buy the game. That's won't go broke, dude. Hello, hello. We are here for another episode of Unfiltered Gamers. And today we're going to be talking about destroying gaming from within. Feels like from every side, not just one agenda side. There is a lot going on to try to destroy gaming, a lot of unhappiness. If people took a look at just gamers and tried to decide if the world was a happy place, they would think that the world is the worst place that could ever exist in anybody's imagination, because
The
gaming
world
is
is not
just,
a happy place, though.
it's not. But if gaming were like the sampling, it would be the worst possible imagination anybody could have for what society is, because it's just so unhappy about something that's supposed to be a good thing.
Yeah. What episode is this? What episode are we up to? 6? 5? No.
9, 7, 2.
No. See, we're doing it again. Stop. We gotta figure this out.
I don't know, to be honest. You started with 0, and I'm forever gonna be confused.
We should have never started from 0. Why did we start from 0? I don't know why I did this to myself.
It's probably 6, but technically 7, or 5 and technically
I think
6,
it's
6 and technically
yeah.
5. 5.
Okay, but you know what's crazy? We keep saying these episodes. Oh my god, we gotta fix
Listen.
this. Anyway, I'm Delacroix, and once again, I'm with Mad. How you been, Mad?
I'm
How's
good.
everything been?
I'm good. I'm a little sleepy, but I will wake up as we go, because I did the Until Dawn remake last night. So
Oh my god.
yeah,
Is it a remake or remastered?
it's a remake. It's a remake.
Completely change the
Yep.
story.
It has some
Story
changes in
change?
story. It does. It
Okay.
doesn't completely, but it does change some of the beginning and end, depending on if you're good. It doesn't change the end if you don't keep people alive. I didn't
Did
keep
you have-
some people alive.
Did
So
you have
the
to
gameplay
pay
was a little
extra
bit
money?
harder too, which is why I failed, even though I played it a bunch of times. They made it so like there's a mechanic where the controller, you have to keep it still, which I really wish was in more games, because it is really hard. Like, imagine if you were in a boss battle and you also had to keep the controller still.
Oh, I turned that shit off.
That'd be so cool, though. No, it's like
Nope, turn that shit
What?
right off,
Oh,
bro.
so you don't want to get good.
Shut up. No, this is how you get good. You take the controller and you put it on your desk.
So it was
kept
it was
still.
vibrating so hard, none of that was working.
Dude, you put the
It
vibration.
was
I turned off the
vibrating
vibration.
so hard, and so I was like, "Holy!" So anyway, but it is a remake. It's not for everyone. No game is, but I'm the audience for it because I play it every year.
Ah.
So, how are you? How are things?
I'm still breathing. I had this like a whole like conversation with 2 people on Twitter. You know how I am on Twitter, right? I'm very
yeah. Abrasive.
outspoken. Why does everybody say that? I'm not
'Cause you
abrasive.
are.
No, I'm not. I
I
speak
am too. I'm not. It's
I
not an
speak my
insult.
truths, and I just feel a lot of people take shit way too serious, and there's too much virtue signaling over the dumbest shit.
I agree.
So somebody posted something about the word spooky, and I'm just like, oh my god, we're not fucking doing this shit again. Because for a quick history lesson, for some people who don't know, there's this whole notion of trying to ban the word spooky during Halloween due to the fact it's associated with the word spook, which was used as derogatory term against black people back in like 1960 something. Also, the term really originated back in the 1940s for spies. The term is still used today against CIA agents and spies.
I
If
didn't
you
know
ever heard
that.
the term, yeah, the term spook is a spy.
Huh.
Yeah,
That's a fun fact.
so federal agencies still use that term, spook. So like counterintelligence would use it, like this guy is a spook, and they would go, okay, he's a fucking spy. Like this guy he's doing some shady shit.
Huh.
Then during the fucking 1960s, it was used as a derogatory term against black people. Fast forward to now, it's changed to spooky, because it's Halloween. Everybody uses it. It's used in fucking songs. It's used in freaking TV ads, games, everything. It's like a whole thing. But there's a side of the woke agenda Twitter who is like, you can't use that word. It's hurting people of color and it hurts black people and you can't use it. And you have, some who want to be saviors and go, yes, I'm going to do that. I'm going to not listen to that and everything. And it's just like, say the fucking word.
Mm-hmm.
What? Okay, Matt, you're a little on the darker side, right? You're a little.
I have a little pigment, if you will.
You got a little pigment, and you got a little cinnamon in your in your milk. Have you ever been in a situation where somebody looks at you and calls you a fucking spook?
No.
In the year 2024? Could you imagine somebody?
I've never heard anyone refer to anyone as a spook unless they're talking about like Halloween.
Okay,
and
but
even
could
then,
you imagine?
That's not the context it's used in. You normally say spooky. You don't usually call people spooks. That's not usually the context it's even used in.
Yeah. So could you imagine imagine the most racist person ever. Imagine the most racist person ever.
Yeah.
Going to a group of black people and calling them a bunch of spookies.
They'd be like,
look at these bunch of spooks walking around. Look at all these spooks. This video's probably gonna get banned and demonetized, but we don't even care.
Yeah.
But could you just imagine that
coming out? Like it's not. It doesn't. The thing is with historical context, and I can't speak obviously for like derogatory terms for the most part because they've never really been used against me. I'm just a weird, ethnically ambiguous person for the most part. But like in terms of historical context with words are used for different contexts throughout human history. That's just how it is. It's like how slang is used, right? I hate slang with my whole soul because I feel like it usually oversimplifies words that we had a lot of context with previously. And instead of learning those words and using them appropriately, people come up with like a blanket statement that they use over and over for a very temporary period of time. And it doesn't stick to the psyche because it doesn't really have a lot of meaning. And so I prefer, the wider use of the English language. And I wish that we used it more because we would all be able to communicate more effectively if we did. If we were like using Old English, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it just feels like, there's people that don't want other people just to have like not have fun, but like just kind of like monetize and have like with speech. But fast forward, like so two people reached out to me and was like, could you elaborate on what you said about the word and then the word POC? I don't like using POC because just because you flip the words around doesn't make it less racist. Person of color, I mean, color person sounds racist as shit, right?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, person of color. You flip the words around. It's the same shit. Anyway, I had a long conversation with them. I spoke to them like, listen, just if you feel you did right, you did right. But there's just people that want to destroy shit from that. They think they're helping, but they're really destroying shit. Like they're really just making everything harder for everybody.
Yeah.
Just like with today's topic.
Yeah. That's a great
Sweet
segue.
Baby Inc.
That was a great segue.
Sweet
Holy.
You like that, right?
Yeah.
You like how I did that? Yeah. You see, you needed one. I was like,
good.
Bam. So, Sweet Baby Inc. Everybody knows Sweet Baby Inc. They came into the scene like a fucking hurricane, and they seem to have just ruined the gaming industry. Did they have good intentions? Yes. They wanted to have more games and stories that had black, gay, trans, disabled characters. They wanted those. They wanted more stories like those. They were the focus. They were the lead characters. Have we always had games like that? Yes. There's been plenty of games like that, but these people seem to forget. They just wanted to bring more. They wanted to tell their stories. And, oh God, they told their stories all right, and their stories flopped and failed. And it just seems like they just kept going and going and going. And just the game industry right now is where any game comes out, if it has a female lead, it's automatically woke. If it has a black lead,
it's so weird, right?
It's automatically woke.
Yeah, because that doesn't make any sense. It's like with Outlaws. Like we talked about that. There's no agenda in that game whatsoever, but people think there is because they're like, oh, the girl doesn't look female enough.
Yeah, as the thing is, I think it is, when you make one thing your focus selling point to sell a game, that's when people are like, this is stupid. Mm-hmm. So it's like me and you make a game. Yeah. And we go, this game is going to be good for X group. Yeah. This game is all about X group. This game will really highlight X groups struggle. This X group, X group, X group. We just put the whole focus on X group. Not gameplay, not story, not mechanics. Always saying you need to buy this game because of X group.
Well, the thing is, you find what you're looking for. You know.
Yeah. So, what has come to light in about a couple of weeks ago, one of the Sweet Baby Inc.'s employees admitted that the goal was to burning the gaming industry to the ground. And I don't want to like misquote her, but she says it's like, cool, so why am I here? We want cooler stories, a safer world, and burning the gaming industry to the ground.
And you know what's really interesting? Because we hear those words and we're like, oh my gosh, Sweet Baby Inc., DEI, evil, right? They hate gaming. But the people who are against Sweet Baby and who are like, oh, they have agendas and this is bad and they're trying to ruin gaming, also actively say, we want a bunch of these AAA gaming studios to close. We want gaming to change. We want gaming, like the modern gaming, to die. So it's the same argument on both sides. They have the same goal, which is to kill gaming and make money doing it. And they fight somehow.
Well, they can't make money doing it. They're destroying it. It's not.
But they're doing it right now. They're making money based on the content and everything else by like rage baiting and getting people all,
So me, being one of those angry gamers who feels like modern gaming and modern movies, modern shows have gone to shit because it just feels like it's gotten lazy. It's gotten very lazy. And as a black man, I don't want to hear about my struggles in fucking video games and movies. I said that before in the last podcast. I'm tired of this shit. I don't want to see the companies fail, but at the same time, you deserve to fail at this point. Because if you're not listening to your structural fan base and you're just releasing shit after shit, then it's like you just gotta just die off.
Well, there's two sides to that though. Because here's a good example. Ubisoft is the perfect example, right? And I know a lot about them. I was having a really good conversation on Twitter about it. So they've made a lot of mistakes, but I see them as a company that's experimenting. Things happen, some things don't work, but they're experimenting with way too much money, right? And they've made a lot of mistakes along the way. So obviously their pirate game did not work. It was a huge flop. Avatar is actually known as the most beautiful game, like metrically, like they can measure it. And yet it is one that is like completely ignored in the industry. It's never talked about. So it failed, but it did something innovative. Like it did something good. Then you've got, and I agree with that, actually. I didn't find it to be all that interesting. It had some, anyway. Then you've got Outlaws, finally, which just flopped, even though the last big Assassin's Creed did really, really well. It sold over $1 billion. So it's not like their games aren't popular and there aren't tens of millions of people that really enjoy them. But I think part of why Outlaws died, I think the anti-AAA agenda really did win this battle. I think that was part of what brought Outlaws down, because everyone I spoke to outside of like the gaming industry, when I'd be like, oh, are you going to play Outlaws? Like, they're like, oh, what are you playing? And I'm like, oh, I'm going to play Outlaws, or I am playing Outlaws. And they're like, I heard really bad things about that game. That's every single person I talked to outside of gaming. That's how much the anti-woke agenda had like reached. Like usually it stays kind of within the gaming culture. Like somehow the Harry Potter conversations didn't destroy Harry Potter, right? But these conversations left the normal domain of gaming conversations, and I think they won this one. And the thing is, had they not done that, I think Outlaws could have been bigger, because Outlaws had a lot to offer. I really truly think that it's going to be refined by another game, and they're going to get all the credit, because there were innovative elements. And here's the thing that people say about the Assassin's Creed series and Ubisoft in general that we'll kind of get into. This weird dichotomy that's going on is they'll say, oh, well, they changed the games too much. Now there's like RPG stuff and I don't like it. But then they'll also say, oh, it's the same boring repetitive formula. You can't say it's not. Those two ideas are completely conflicting. Like you got to decide on one and then argue it. You can't argue both those points. It's not possible. They've changed. Have they innovated, or are they the same? Fucking decide, bro.
But at the same time, you got to think, like, what are a lot of game companies doing now? They're promising us the moon and the stars, and they're not following through. Using Cyberpunk as an example, when it first was shown, it promised us a lot, and then when we got it, it was like, we don't have this.
It still
Half
hasn't
the stuff you
delivered.
promised us, we didn't have.
And somehow people love it, but it still never delivered on its original
And then
promises.
if you go back to the Division, when it first came out, it promised the fucking lot. It promised like a mobile app. So let's say I was playing the game and I was like, oh shit, I'm stuck. You could jump on your mobile app and help me like control a drone or some shit. It promised a lot. That was Ubisoft.
Yeah.
You wanna go back? So I feel like these game companies, they're promising us a lot at E3. E3 is dead now, so E3 is gone forever. But when we had those game shows, when we had that, they showed us all this immaculate stuff, and we're like, oh my god, we can't wait. We can't wait till the game comes out. Then when the game comes out, it's like, it sucks. Watch Dogs 1. Watch Dogs 1 was the perfect example of fucking overhyped, big marketing, and the game flopped too. Watch Dogs is supposed to be doing something
think that
really.
is? Because if we're looking at it from a base level, right? Like, let's say that you saw no marketing for a game and you bought one of these games. Most of the time, they have actual new innovations. And I know that because I've played them and compared them. Like, there are elements within each of these games that are distinct, unique combinations, refined things, or like they've expanded some sort of features. Like, I am really good at going through a game and noting all of the features and how they differ and how they don't. And a lot of people don't do that because they're trying to solidify a specific argument going into it, right? And so what do you think the real issue is with these, knowing that most of them do have really distinct features? You know what I mean? Like, it's not that they are actually, like, there's no slop. That doesn't exist. Every game is different. Every game is a unique piece of art. So what, and if you disagree with that, like, why? Because I mean, like, even Outlaws, if you don't like it, has like very distinct features, right? Every Assassin's Creed, I could tell you a million reasons why it's different from the others, you know? And if you don't like it, that's fine, but they are different and they do innovate, whether people like it or not. And so it's just like they're arguing the wrong thing to try to destroy things, to try to complain about things. And there's plenty to complain about, but like, why are they making things up and lying to complain? I don't really. It's like that's like the literal grifting. It's like scamming people out of enjoying things so that they can destroy things and make money doing so.
Well, I feel like it's I feel like with the smaller companies making like games like and just going under the radar, like the indie companies, it's like they don't have the budget to like fucking do all these immaculate like advertisements. You get an advertising on YouTube or something. Like even Amazon just dropped like a new fucking MMORPG game, and I didn't hear about it until like a week ago, and I'm like, this is Amazon. Amazon has marketing for the whole bunch of a whole bunch of things.
Apparently, it's doing the new Tomb Raider too.
Yeah, so it's like, why am I having that much marketing? But then it's like, is everything being like kind of pushed under by like bigger gaming companies that we know, like the titans of gaming, Sony, Ubisoft, Square Enix, Microsoft. Who else do you have? Activision, Blizzard. Like those are the titans when you think about it. And we have a smaller, even Nintendo. And we have smaller companies that's working on things. It's kind of like it's just pushed to the waywards. And like you are right. There's some games that go under the radar that nobody's hyped about. And then when you play, it's like, oh my god, this is fucking amazing. Like, perfect example is Helldivers. Helldivers 1 didn't do too well. It was a mediocre game, and people like, it had this fan base. And then Helldivers 2 came out, and it completely changed the UI from over the top fighting to more of a over the shoulder kind of gameplay, and drop in, drop out multiplayer, and then like it upscaled everything. And then people loved it. Its success
but it
was like
came out of
upfront.
It came out of the woodwork. I don't know what the phrase is there, but like
it kind
came out of nowhere, right? Because like it wasn't anticipated to be the best game, right? Like nobody would have anticipated that being a potential like GOTY, basically. Like it's up there on a bunch of people's lists.
Yeah, like again, because Helldivers 1 was so like bleh.
So expectations
I never even heard
were
of
low,
Helldivers.
and I think that's part of the problem. More than people are actually analyzing the games for themselves, because a lot of people don't even play them when they talk about them, right? They're just going off of some YouTuber's perspective. It's like, I think a lot of the problem is actually the marketing, not the actual games. Like legitimately, I think most of the conversations, because people get their expectations so high from the marketing, and then those expectations aren't met, like you were saying before, or they have low expectations and don't even buy the game because some YouTuber told them to, or told them not to.
But the thing is, you got to think of it like that. You got to think of it like this: if you know a company and they sell you the fucking product so good, it's like, you gotta remember, these guys that get on stage and tell us about these games, and when they show us stuff, they're the salesmen. And if you ever done sales, you gotta pique somebody's interest. You're gonna show them the good things, the positives, the wow, the dazzling stuff about it.
Yeah.
Right. So, going back to Helldivers, like, yes, it was under everybody's radar, and nobody had high expectations. They played the game, it was like, this game is amazing, and word of mouth spread.
Yes.
Now when you have a game like, let's use
Cyberpunk's the perfect example, to be honest.
Cyberpunk.
It sold us on a dream that it never accomplished, but yet it somehow still gained a huge interest.
But
later.
What high is it coming from? What high did Cyberpunk come from? It's coming
Witcher,
from the
right?
high of The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Yes, there was like The Witcher 3 was fucking magnificent. Did it have a little bit of bugs? Yes, but the game was fucking beautiful.
And then
the game
it
was
promised so much in an area that hadn't been, like, in a setting that hadn't really been done in AAA.
But then they ran into issues because of, they had that whole thing where, the modern audience came in and said, what about trans people? We're like, well, we have a feature where you could be a woman or a guy with a vagina or penis, and you could make the penis be big as hell.
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Oh, we don't like that you got a poster with a robe. It was like a advertisement poster in Cyberpunk where it was a girl drinking a soda, and she had a glowing robot penis. And people are like, you're sexualizing trans people. How dare you? You can't do that. Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear this. So was it like one of the first kind of anti-woke targets then, maybe? Potentially? If that's the case, because I don't remember this conversation, but I'm sure it like happened with that group.
It wasn't anti-woke. It was, you need to add it. You got to give to us.
Wait.
So,
people wanted it?
So here's the thing. So, this is the future. This is like what Cyberpunk takes place in, like the fucking future. Yeah,
I played like a third of it, I think, but
where it was down to like you could change your eyes and fucking have all this stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the future, do you think gender and everything is really a thing back in those days? Is it gonna be like a big topic like what everybody's talking about now? No, because you could literally become a whole cyborg.
Right.
So
you're already piecing yourself together like a robot. Yeah.
Exactly. So you could have a whole. So it was an advertisement
If it ever made sense in a context, it was that, right?
Yeah. So it was an advertisement in the game for a product in the Cyberpunk world. I think it was like some energy drink or something, whatever. But the model was a female drinking the soda, and she had a glowing robot penis.
And so people were asking for that or against it?
Yes, people in the trans community
wanted it.
Were against it. Was against it because they said
in the trans
you're
community.
Making us. Yes, they said you're sexualizing us.
What?
You didn't hear about this?
No, that's crazy.
This is probably when you were still a good person. You were wholesome.
Yeah, no, it was when I'd started streaming, like, because that was 2020, and so I was still kind of a little baby streamer. That wasn't.
So the whole thing was you're sexualizing us, and then it went to this whole thing like. When we're sexualized, people only see this as a stigma, and we're secret and everything. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, everybody's sexualized. No matter what race or gender you are sexualized and you are fantasized about. And anyway, I mean, go into any porn category, Latin, Asian, Black, big beautiful women.
What is that rule of 34? If you can imagine it exists.
Exactly. So the studio was like, we're sorry, we're gonna remove that. We're sorry for taking it out. It's like, okay, whatever. Then they were saying, in Cyberpunk, there's a way you could look at somebody and you see like what they're about. Like you can hack them or something. Like you see their stats. Oh, it doesn't. Why doesn't it tell me if the person is transgender or not?
This is like you can't win.
Like you can't win. And then there's this whole thing.
It's so
it was like so much. They wanted so much.
And the fact that I kind of hate when games listen to people bullying them for things, to be honest, because like imagine, okay, so Wukong, let's take that for an example. And let's say that, like, oh, I go and I say, oh, the women are all sirens. How fucking dare they? That's not how women should be portrayed. They're making us look evil and mean. You better remove that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a story. It's art,
Well,
dude. It's somebody's art.
women are evil and mean, but that's a different
Even
topic.
whether we are or not, that's somebody's art. You know what I mean? Like, that's
But yeah,
somebody made it. That's their art. Let it live,
but
dude.
so that whole thing, so Cyberpunk was getting all this heat from the trans community, and they even had a trans character in the game. They had a whole storyline with the trans character. You didn't know she was trans until like you got in her car because she had a trans flag in the back of her car. Then you had the anti-woke people come and say like, really, like, are you really listening to all these people with the bullshit? Like you gave them something, and now they're saying we don't want it. But now you got to give us back. You got to give us something. We don't want this. Give us this instead. So they gave him that, but it wasn't enough. So the game then you couldn't win.
So
Fast forward to now, people started seeing that as a game. You start seeing like, okay, you're giving these people who probably aren't gonna play your game or be dedicated to your game all these things, and then your gameplay sucks. Your story's dog shit. Your mechanics, it doesn't do anything new.
yeah, I hated Cyberpunk, but
Because you gave the crowd who was upset and you wanted to cater to something. So
okay,
fast forward to today, I can see why gamers are the way they are, because like you cater to one group for so long, and your games aren't doing well, because at the end of the day, those people you're catering to aren't buying your fucking game. You say these games are for the modern gamer, they're not buying it. And the gamers who actually say like, hey, listen, do we just want the bare minimum? Just do this, switch something up, just give us games. And it's not being done. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. That game was hyped the fuck up. When it came out, the game was ass. The
So-
story was stupid.
we're both business creatives, right? So obviously there is, I've talked about this a lot. I don't think on this podcast yet though. There is a almost like, what's that called? Spectrum of where you can have true to your art for just yourself. You're making it by yourself. You're the only one consuming that art. No one can tell you it's bad, right? You're just making it for
Okay.
yourself. And then you've got just getting rid of everything that is you to try to make money and framing it for an audience 100% and not caring how much it's true to you. Okay, those are the opposite ends of the spectrum. Art versus art for money, right? Art for you, art for money. And most fall in the middle of the spectrum, right? You give a little bit to try to give to the audience. So how much do you think games should be listening to the feedback of their audience and destroying what might be their true art that they want to accomplish to try to give the audience what they want, the gamers what they want? Like, where do you think that that line should be drawn, and who do you think it should be drawn for? Because I feel like that's where the second part of this is, outside of like, oh, marketing is destroying, you know, gaming and they're overselling and all of this. I think part of it is also, how much should they really even be giving us? Should it be everything? Should they just be designing games purely out of what we're asking for? Maybe, you know, like, where do you think of where it fits?
I think like you should listen to both sides. You should, but you gotta put a stand on things. Or, as a game company, do what the fuck you want, because this is your art. And you know how I always told you, like I tell you, I tell everybody, you're going to piss somebody off. No matter what you do, no matter how well you walk on eggshells, one shell is going to crack, and that cracked shell is going to start making all the other shells cracked, and you're going to be fucked. I told the people who reached out to me yesterday and was talking about stuff. Do what you feel is best and just stand by it. Okay? The guys who made Wukong, they said, we're going to make a game about Chinese mythology. This is what we want to do. That's it. We're not going to listen to these crowds of people. Sweet Baby Inc. tried to advise them. You got to have this, this, and that. They're like, no, we don't want it. Even when they released the game and gave it early copies, they said, don't talk about politics. Don't talk about it. We don't want none of this shit. This is not what the game is about. Play the fucking game. And I feel that that's what a lot of companies have to start doing. Stop listening to everybody. Make the game. Matt, do I come into your house and tell you, don't decorate your house like this? That's like me coming to the house and say, Matt, this is your house. you got to decorate this way because I don't like how it's
agree.
decorated.
No, I 100% agree. But where that becomes a problem is that like a lot of the industry thinks they're like every gamer thinks they're the main fucking character. They really
You're
do.
not.
You know,
Sorry to
every
say,
single
your
gamer, they're
life
like,
is boring
how come
enough.
they're not making games for me? Like, bro, they're everybody's creating their own art. Like every company, every individual, whoever's making games is making the art that they want to create. And again, it's going to be somewhere on that spectrum. And so I think where people get annoyed is when they think they're selling out for money, but they're not selling out to them. You know, it's like, oh, they've sold out to the DEI, but they didn't sell out to me. I want them to. So it's not that they're upset that the game is created for an agenda. It's that it's not their agenda. And I think that's like where I find a problem, because I just want to see cool art, see innovation, see experiments. That's why I like Ubisoft when other people don't, because I like experiments even when they fail. Now, it doesn't necessarily make for a good business when you're experimenting all the time. You got to have like an 80-20, right? Experiment with 20% of your money, 80% make sure you have it like in something that's going to work so that you can keep your business afloat. That's like the general rule. And I think Ubisoft left that percentage scope, right? And I think a lot of the other companies have too. And part of that is that I think games have just gotten too complex for what we're capable of at this time with the scale of like human and technological capabilities. It's like, unless you are able to more efficiently use the budget to get enough people to be able to accomplish this without it taking fucking 12 years, you know, like we're making games too big. We just are at this point for what we're capable of.
Yeah. So, what you said, so circling back and reading it back in with Sweet Baby Inc. and them want to destroy the gaming industry from within. I believe that if they accomplish that, I feel like they wanted to cause discourse and constantly have conversations about nonsense, and they've done it because any game comes out now, again, black character, female character, it's automatically classified as woke, and it's like, no, the game, it's like, wait, stop, let's slow down a second. Imagine Final Fantasy 13 with Lightning comes out today. They're gonna classify it as woke. It has a female character who is with pink hair. You have a black guy with an afro. You have a typical blonde white guy, and you have two other female characters who are gay. They're like, the game is woke.
Do people call Final Fantasy woke much? I honestly don't
What?
know. Is Final Fantasy normally referred to as like part of the woke problem, more or less, quote unquote?
No,
I
Final
don't think it
Fantasy
is,
13 had a really good story, had really good graphics.
Yeah, I think they're very popular, right? Like it's not like getting attacked by the industry from what I can tell.
Not yet, but eventually. But just imagine, like, because I think 13 had female lead, X2 had a female lead. I don't remember the older ones having female leads. It was more male, but like I believe about a good amount had female leads. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't like a whole thing where it was like, oh, because I'm a woman, they don't see me as powerful. Oh, because I'm this. It was just like, we just know your history and you suck. Like, X2, you're a fucking pop star. What are you doing saving the world? Oh, okay, you used to summon things, but you're a pop star. Like, we really don't see you like that. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it didn't play on the fact that it was because she's a woman. It's because we're playing on the fact that we know who you are as a, like your character. You get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it feels
so
like
you
people
would go
have
to
lost
Tsushima.
context, right? Like, it's just they're not focused on, like, they see the superficial, like you're saying, and they don't look any deeper to see if it's actually something that feels like it's being preached at them. Because we had this conversation last time where we were like, are there any games that you feel like really preach at you? And for me, I haven't played very many, and I think both of us maybe have avoided games that feel like they would be preachy, but the games that I've played that other people would consider preachy, I didn't feel like were preachy, right? And it's just, I don't think there's as many as we think there are that are actually preachy. I think where the problem comes in is that they're marketed as being preachy because they're connected to Sweet Baby Inc. And so it's not that they actually are. It's like this weird perception thing that people are just buying. And that's why I'm like, I talk about this all so much, because I feel like people are just buying what people are selling. You know what I mean? Like, truly not thinking for themselves anymore.
Yeah, and one of the things that really hurt a lot of gamers with the Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is supposed to be set in the same universe as the Arkham universe, right?
Hmm.
And the Arkham games, the Batman Arkham games, is fucking
I'm
phenomenal.
about to play them actually when I'm done with Ghost of
To
Tsushima. That's
think
what I
to
played
think that
Replace
we,
Shadows with.
yeah, to think that we went from Batman Arkham Knight, Asylum, City,
Hmm.
and Beginnings, to go to Justice League Kills the Suicide Squad, and it looks like this, and like it's taking some characters and making them look fucking atrocious. You're like, what happened?
Well,
Like,
I
how did
think
we
a
get
bigger
here?
problem wasn't the actual like DEI of it. I think the biggest problem was that that just wasn't the game for that audience. You know, a lot of the Batman fans like me, because I played Asylum back in the day, and now I'm gonna play them all. But I I'm a solo player. Like I don't really care about live service that much. I'll test it out, kind of like with the what was it, the pirate game for Ubisoft. Like I tested it out, but I'm not the audience for that. I like solo games. You know what I mean? Like I only play multiplayer games on
Wait,
occasion.
Skull and Bones? Is you talk? You keep saying Skull and
Yeah.
Bones. Is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Skull and Bones. What was Skull and Bones? I thought I was gonna be a real fucking squashbuckling pirate, like
Yeah.
fucking. I thought it was gonna be like, what's that game? Sea of Thieves
Yeah. I think
on
we all thought
crack.
that. Yeah. And it wasn't.
And what was it? It was boat battles.
Yeah, it really wasn't very good.
It was just dog shit. And they
Yeah.
fuck, but they sold it. It was like sail the seven seas and be
Yeah.
a pirate, make
That
a
was
crew,
their
and all this
biggest
nonsense.
mistake ever, I think. That was almost as catastrophic as what's it called? Um Concord. Like that was a big failure. Like they should not have put that much money into that. But the problem is it really is separate from their audience. They have people saying like, "Oh, give us multiplayer, give us co-op, give us these things." But I don't think it's a big enough part of the audience. Like I don't think they did enough market research on that, or they just heard the audience and the audience doesn't even know what they want. Because I don't care that Shadows is coming out with co-op. If it was local co-op, maybe, because then I could share the game IRL a little bit. I play solo. I'm a solo player. Like I'm not interested in the multiplayer co-op online. It doesn't make for very good content for the type of content I do, because people are there to have conversations with me and see me play and see me analyze the game. If I'm playing with another person, it changes the entire dynamic of my content. And so it's just not for me. And even if I were playing offline, I'd rather play by myself. I'm just not as much of a natural team player. You know what I mean? Like it's just not
Yeah.
me. And so like it's the same thing with the Suicide Squad. They made a multiplayer game for a solo audience. Like, of course, that's not going to translate well. And both of those did the same thing. And it's because all of these gaming companies are, like we said, on the art to money spectrum, they're on the money side because they're like, well, we need to do live service. We need to do multiplayer. That's where all the money is. Blah, blah, blah. Look at Fortnite. Blah, blah, blah. And so they all tried to get their piece of the pie. And I think everybody agrees that that's not working, because while there are a lot of people who really enjoy multiplayer, they have their multiplayer franchises that they already love. If somebody's going to come in and take their attention from those franchises, it's got to be literally the best thing, not just marketed as the best thing.
And it's just like, maybe you're right, because it's like it went from solo to multiplayer. Then you had the Gotham Knights game
Because I was
that
excited
tried
for
to bring it
Suicide
back.
Squad. Yeah, I was excited. That was
The
my
Gotham
most
Knights
excited game until I realized it was multiplayer.
Gotham Knights was another dog shit game. It's just like, I get where games are trying to go with playing with your friends, but some of us like to play with ourselves alone. That sounded wrong.
But we do. We just want to play by ourselves. Like don't
Somebody-
make
some-
everything fucking co-op.
Some of us like to be alone with our games and in the dark and play and enjoy the story, okay?
Yeah, and
We
the
like
thing
to play
with
with
these co-op
ourselves,
too
but
is they're
this
not
one's-
story co-op. Like I want more story co-op, especially that I could play split screen local, and I think that would be a
That's
huge
why-
audience, because a lot of people want to play with like maybe their partner, because like there's a lot of gamers who like, you know, they have a wife or whomever that they want to play with, and bring them into their hobby every once in a while, not that often, but like maybe a little bit, like, hey, come join me for this thing I love. And there's not enough of those games, right? It's like
You
they
have
always
games like that.
I mean, there's
You
not
kinda
very
do have
many,
games.
because they want it to be where you have to buy 2 copies of the game. They don't want local co-op anymore. It doesn't make them enough money.
Oh yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, wait, no, yeah, you can. You could, like, what's that game? With the there's like the prison game And the game with the mother and dad turned into like puppets, like little
Yeah,
stick
yeah.
figures.
Even those, you have to have 2 copies of the game.
No, if you play in the
It
same
takes 2.
TV.
You have to have 2 copies.
But if you're playing on TV,
I'm pretty sure. Well, I could be wrong actually.
yeah, I don't
But
play
I
it
mean, there's
because you
still
know
not
why?
very many, right? Like it's not like it's like they are focused on trying to sell you more copies of the game. Like it's very anybody can see through it, right? If they're not making it local co-op, they're only making it online co-op. I don't need any more
Yeah,
online co-op games. You know, I think there's a market for the local.
so going back with staying on topic with Sweet Baby Inc. It's like I said, they wanted to destroy the industry and they did it destroy because now it's in disarray. Everybody's at each other's throats. Games can't come out without it being considered woke or it doesn't have enough of a group of people. And then you just have this whole notion where it's like game companies are just like, we're just gonna fucking remake games.
Yeah, because that's
You
the
can't
80%. That's the safe route.
Yeah, and then it's like when the game company does make a new game, you have these people like, well, it doesn't include gay people, it doesn't trans people, it doesn't include black people.
I honestly
Oh,
have
they
never
have a
seen that
history of
narrative.
this.
I'm gonna be really honest. I have never seen someone be like, "This does not have a black person in it. I'm not playing it." I've never one time seen that.
What? Dude, there's
Never.
people who don't play games because it lacks diversity.
I have never seen it. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I personally have never seen that narrative. I've seen the narrative of talking about the opposite, like, oh, this has black people and I'm racist, or oh, this has gays and I'm homophobic. Like, I'm not playing this. But
Yeah.
like with fucking shadows, right? I mean, we're seeing that like full throttle. But like, I've never seen the narrative of this doesn't have a woman in it. I'm not playing it. I'm sure it exists, but like, I've never seen it. It's not. They're not a loud group, at least not now.
Well, it just feels like right now everybody is just upset and then is just in chaos with the gaming industry. Sweet Baby Inc. has accomplished that, and now any game that has Sweet Baby Inc. attached to it is automatically put on a blacklist, and like people don't even want to touch it. I didn't even know Sweet Baby Inc. was in attached to Alan Wake. It seems like they're part of like
Yeah,
a
because we were
lot of freaking
surprised
games.
that Alan
Like
Wake
when you
2
look,
was supposedly woke, right? I thought those were just, I don't know. There's a whole, we should actually go through the Excel in a different episode.
of
There's
the
a
games,
whole Excel spreadsheet that we can go through and be like, woke or, woke or not. Because they legit have like a whole spreadsheet. They call Elden Ring woke. Like, I don't know. It's just crazy, dude.
what?
Yeah. I'm
Who
so
called
serious.
Elden Ring? Who
The
called that shit?
spreadsheet, they go through like 90% of games and call them
Ah,
woke.
slap your
Yeah, I
fucking
think we should
mother.
go through it.
Elden Ring is woke.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Craziness.
Miyazaki don't fucking care about how the fuck is Elden Ring woke?
Exactly.
Please tell me.
I would love to
Oh,
see. I
because-
need to look at the spreadsheet.
Because America, who looks like a woman, is actually a boy. Is
Something
that
like
what it is?
Probably.
Did you not know back in the medieval times there was motherfuckers who looked so beautiful they thought they were women, but they were actually men? Look at Griffith
And
from
think about the
Berserk.
men who like played women in every fucking acting thing back then because they didn't let
Yeah,
women
like,
act. Like,
Man,
there's so much history that people just don't fucking think about.
when we continue talking about like what Carmen Wild said she's from Sweet Baby Inc. and she followed up with like, so why am I still here after everything? It's like to stop people who are uncomfortable hearing that not every story is theirs to own, to provide a space where whiteness doesn't have to live is where some of the best stories are told. When you get a general we do a general it's about going deep into a world of discomfort and telling stories that has bite. Those are the kind of stories that make me feel real. So I want to break this down. To stop people who are uncomfortable hearing that every story is theirs to own. What does that mean? If I make a game that doesn't include X group, you don't bitch about
So
it?
it's got to be the most inclusive game every single time without fail. Like you have to include everyone all the time. That's stupid. We can't. That's not possible.
So her first statement just counteracts that. Their first statement just counteracts that, because if somebody else makes a game that doesn't include your group, you automatically want to say, I'm gonna attack them because they're they're fucking against X group. So shouldn't you as a game dev or whatever be okay not seeing you in a story and that isn't about you? To provide a space where whiteness doesn't have to
And
live.
let's be honest, a lot of the people that are making these games are not part of those groups. Let's be very
Exactly.
honest. We've seen the game devs, and this is not to like cause chaos and shit on anyone, but let's be very honest. When we see the people that they bring up and they're like, this is who developed the game, it is a lot of white women, okay? It is. Like, I can't deny that 100%.
It's so funny when you see that picture. You ever seen those pictures like Ubisoft before, Ubisoft now?
Mm-hmm.
It was like a few white guys. You had a black guy, and then you had an Asian guy. Now it's like a whole bunch of white women with colorful hair, and they're all gay and stuff.
It is
nothing
like,
wrong with that.
If there's nothing wrong with that, but if the people creating the game aren't themselves diverse, but you're trying to create a diverse narrative, you're going to have disconnect. That's just period.
Yeah. So I just find it funny that they say that we don't want to have whiteness where whiteness is that told. You have a bunch of white people telling black stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or you have white people telling stories how they see shit.
Yep.
A bunch of white women how they see shit. Hello. Last time I checked, white people don't experience the same things as black people. Or as a woman, you don't know how to tell a story of a gay man or a black man. You know what I'm saying?
And like the thing is, we can tell. We sort of, I mean, like, people have been telling white men stories and haven't been white men for a long time. You know what I mean? Like, that's happened over and over again when you've had a diverse group of people making a game and the original was like all white men everywhere, right? Like that's
okay.
What they were trying to go against was like to say, okay, well, let's add in a few new faces because obviously this isn't representative of actual society. Like 100% of people aren't white men. That's like that's 1% of it. I don't know how much percentage, maybe half. I don't 40%, 30%. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, let's get it more representative of actual society reality, right? That's a fine thing to try to accomplish. Obviously, I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. No game needs to be for everyone, or every game doesn't need to be for everyone. It's fine. But when like we're creating every single game more or less with only a background that isn't of those diverse perspectives, we're getting so much disconnect in the industry, right? If it's mostly white women creating black stories, or it's mostly, you know, what's interesting is like, I feel like straight people were creating gay stories for so long, and now it's gay people creating straight stories. It's like all of this disconnect where it's like we actually need, if we're gonna have diversity, we should really start in the people that are like making the games. And if they're not, then maybe that's not what people want. You know?
Yeah.
If those aren't the people making the games, maybe people don't want those games. And it's not necessary that like the creator and the consumer are potentially the same group, but it could be, you know. It's just I'm like, my brain is trying to do the math there. There's a lot of potential for disconnect and a lot of potential for connect depending on like where the math sits. And I think if we're like looking at that spectrum of art to money and they're telling these diverse stories that aren't their own, it leads to you thinking it's more on the money side because that's not even their story. Are they doing it out of the good of their heart to create a more like, not even out of their heart, just like legitimately, are you trying to make a more realistic industry that's more has more of the diverse perspectives of people that are in the world and that are playing the games, or are you doing it because you're trying to get money? And I think where I agree with the other side extreme is that when they're trying to do it for money and you can see that, it's not good. But I just don't see that as often as they're pointing out, and it feels like they're pointing it out specifically to make money themselves. And so you've got both of these sides bickering and making money off of making us all bicker, instead of us like judging games on our own and deciding what's for us and deciding when it feels preachy. We're being preached at that things are being preachy instead of actually deciding when they are. It's absurd how much people are just being cheap, honestly.
I now, we're not saying white people shouldn't make games about this, or like gay people shouldn't make things about this. It's just like, if you're going to make a game, I would not expect I don't want to have to be preached at, like you said, and I don't expect, a white person to know the plight and truly understand the struggle of whatever minority group you're speaking about.
Yeah, that's why I was
Or
trying to do
their
the math, because
culture.
I don't really know if there's like a solid truth there. I think there's a lot to kind of like unpack with it.
It's like,
Yeah.
it's something you could tell. You can tell. You can tell when there's something is written by a fucking white person.
Yeah.
Like, I remember they did a movie. Oh God, there was a movie like Cinderella. You know the movie of Cinderella. You know the story of Cinderella, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I was
Okay.
thinking about another
So,
thing. My brain was like trying
so
to
now,
connect all the dots.
so yeah, I'm going on a tangent. So now imagine Cinderella, but being told as a black boy, but his shoe is like a Nike sneaker. Guess who wrote that? I'll give you. I want you to guess the race and gender of the person who wrote that movie.
White woman.
What?
White woman.
Exactly. So
God.
when we see shit like that, we're not that. And there's a lot of
No.
black people who say that, like, we don't want movies where we always are shot or this and that. We want to see movies where we're just a fucking character, fucking doing shit.
Yeah, the amount of like, what's it called? Like, the drug shows. That's a whole thing.
Yeah.
Good grief. So
Like
tired of shows about drugs.
in the show, the Boys, right? I don't know if you ever watched it, but
yeah, I like that show. That's a good one.
So A-Train wasn't white in the comics. He wasn't black in the comics. He was white. They made him black in the show. But what are the things they gave A-Train in the show because he's black? He has a drug problem and he raps.
I hate it so much.
Who's the main producer and writer of the show?
It's a woman, isn't it?
No, Seth Rogen, a white Jewish man.
Oh, Jesus. I don't like Seth Rogen. I don't think
Okay.
he's funny.
Why is it that the black superhero character has to, and on top of that, he still has to deal with racism because his brother or cousin was disabled by a white superhero.
And he can't just be like a character that exists. Like it has to be
No.
about his struggle as a black man, and the
Mind you-
stereotypical ones at that. Jesus.
Mind you, in the comic, the Deep was a black guy in the comic. The Deep is black in the comic.
So they could have given him a whole separate story that had nothing to do with race and had everything to do with something else unique
And
for
guess
once.
And guess what? The Deep doesn't go through the same shit that this A-Train goes through. The Deep in the comic isn't a drug lord or has a drug problem. He does. It's like when we're put into this box, you can tell who wrote it. You can fucking tell who wrote it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I'm tired of this. I just want to be a fucking character in the video game. That's why I like Final Fantasy 13, because the black guy in it, he was just a regular dude. He was like, this is fucking crazy. I don't want to deal with this shit.
Yeah.
And he had a chocobo in his head, in his fucking afro.
That's how
cool.
I
It was
felt about
cute.
Outlaws, to be honest, which is why it's disappointing that so many people think it's some sort of agenda. It's just a female doing the same things a male would be doing in that perspective, which sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. Like, I didn't think Alloy was very well written, even though she was just a cardboard. But this had like character, and it felt like a woman existing as somebody just trying to get things done. Like, she didn't have a big romance. There was no romance plot at all. Like, it was just a woman fucking doing shit, which like we don't see very often. Usually women are paired with some romance plot, always, no matter what.
Because you guys need, somebody to love you.
Everybody needs someone to love them, but that's not what I live my life around personally. Right?
I don't need anybody to love me.
I very much am like a workaholic, right? Like, I just like doing shit. I like learning shit. I like experimenting in the world. That's what drives me personally. And my gender doesn't change that. It's just me as a person, as a woman.
So this is something else that Carmen said. It's death of the edgelord. When the black critics came out with a savage think piece about Django, I couldn't have cared less. If people don't like my movies, they don't like my movies. If they don't get it, it doesn't matter. I don't care what black people think is kind of suspicious coming from a guy who gathers them to him all the time. And this was like this. guess this was something that Quentin Tarantino said
Let's do a devil's advocate
about
with that a little bit.
Django Unchained. Have you ever seen Django Unchained?
I haven't.
Django Unchained is a badass fucking movie. It's good.
I have heard that narrative before, though, that it's like racist.
No,
it's
what?
not a good
Django
depiction.
Unchained.
Yeah, I've heard that before, that it's not a good depiction. Yeah.
Dude, Django Unchained is about a slave who gets freed by a German bounty hunter, and he trains Django to be a fucking bounty hunter, and he kills white people. It's a black slave killing white slave owners.
Yeah, I didn't buy
How
that
is
it
that
was racist, but I assume by the delivery, but I didn't buy, because I don't listen to people online because they're full of shit. So I don't take anyone's word for anything anymore.
Yeah,
you know?
just hearing that, do you find that racist? I was a slave. I get freed by somebody. They show me how to shoot and train me. I hunt down slave masters, shoot and kill them.
No, that sounds like a historical context story.
Yeah, but what in that is racist?
Literally nothing.
You took something. It's like if they took a Harriet Tubman movie,
and then they're like, "Oh, it's racist because a black man is struggling." Like, that's not.
Yeah, I want to see. This is what I want to see. I want to see a Harriet Tubman movie where it's like the comic Harriet Tubman versus vampires. I want to see that shit. Like historically accurate, but with a twist. Okay, Harriet Tubman, she's killing fucking vampires and helping free the slaves. Make this happen now.
Okay, but I had a thought on trying to devil's advocate that whole approach, and I lost it. So basically, Django and things being like, looking racist or not being. Fuck, I lost it. It was something having to do with gaming. It was gonna take us into the.
You lost it. I screwed you up.
Yeah, I was trying to get it out, and I couldn't. I should have like written it down or something.
So I guess you're just saying, but the whole edgelord thing is kind of like, I'm gonna make my movie. I don't give a fuck what people think.
Yeah. So we were talking about whether you should make your own art because you want to, and do the Wukong method, right? And say, fuck you guys, this is our art, take it or leave it, stop fucking bringing politics into it. That's how I do my personal art, right? And it sounds like that's what that Django person is doing, and any game could technically argue that and say, listen, if you don't like what we're saying, and here's the thing, when other people do it, like Wukong said, if you don't fucking like it, go away. But I've seen all of the anti-AAA, the Ubisoft haters, the fucking like take modern gaming down, blah 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 blah, all of them are like, oh, they told us not to buy the game, that's won't go broke, dude. It's like we see that all the time. Like that's what we saw that with Concord.
Why do you go surfer? You have like two accents for like the modern game, for like gaming bros. It's either surfer or southerner.
Yeah, listen, there could be more that come out actually. The voices just happen. The voices just happen. You might get a third one next week. I don't know.
Is that the type of people you deal with? Is that what a gaming bro sounds like to you in your head?
It just happens. It's just
I think that's what gaming bros sound to you in your head. They're surfer dudes.
Not necessarily. I mean, there's only so many accents I'm capable of, and my brain just does them.
It's just so funny because I'm like, why does she sound like a fucking California surfer?
Couldn't tell you. It's just my brain.
But I agree with you. Yes. When one side says it, we're like, yeah, fucking right on, man. But the other side says like, you guys should fucking die. I hope your whole company.
Exactly. It's like they aren't. Because you know debate rules. I don't really know them at this point. But there's definitely like a logical fallacy there, right? It's like good for me, not for thee, or whatever. It's a double standard all across the board on both sides. It's like, oh, we're allowed to do this, but you're not. We're allowed to do this, but you're not. And it's like every time that it happens on their side, they praise it. Every time it happens on the other side, they're like, no, fuck you. And it's just
because we already don't like them. We already don't.
There's no logical thinking. It's all fucking.
But these companies
emotions.
But these companies hire people and they attack us gamers. Don't attack me and then expect me to fucking like you.
I don't feel like I've ever been attacked by a gaming company. I feel like that's an exaggeration.
How many times have these gaming companies called fucking male gamers the problem in gaming? The straight man is the problem.
Have the gaming companies done that, or have gaming journalists done that?
Okay,
Because
You know,
that's a
who
distinction. I think that gaming journalists are like, not all of them, obviously, because we've had this conversation, but I think that there's a subset of gaming journalists that are sowing discontent, and it has nothing to do with the actual gaming companies.
Okay. Okay. Critics and some game devs have fucking,
Game devs, yes.
make comments,
Yes.
make comics.
Sure.
So,
But they aren't on behalf of the company necessarily. That's just game devs being dicks. That's game devs showing their bias. And that bias, sure, could bleed through. But we're talking about, like, some of these game devs might have just been in the code to, like, design the look of a character or design how a character's gameplay functions, and might not have had any decision-making process at all over the game, right? And so,
Yeah.
like, it doesn't matter. Like the actress, for instance, for the girl in Yotai. Did I get it right this time? Yotai. Ghost of the new one. The one that's not Tsushima. Like, she has been called out for being like woke, the wokest of the woke, right?
yes.
She doesn't have any influence over the game. She's just acting the character. She's just delivering the lines, right? So, like, who cares what political ideology she's a part of?
But
It doesn't affect the game.
playing devil's advocate,
Okay.
when people do, when there's somebody in a movie or game that has been very open about not liking a certain group of people, that group of people goes, fuck this, I'm not going to support anything they're in. Right?
Okay, so devil's
It happens
advocate
on
to
both
that.
sides.
Who the fuck cares? Because do you like the art or do you not? Do you, like this? I need to have the artist and the art be perfectly meshed together. Is like that's what went wrong with Harry Potter on the other side of things.
Okay. So you're saying separate the art from the artist?
Yeah, because I regret.
So why can't people do that now?
Not that I really
People
want to
can't
play
do
Harry
that.
Potter that badly, but I think that it was a wrong decision for me to say I'm not buying it simply because everybody's yelling. I think it was wrong. I would not do that again.
So do you think the logical thing to do is separate the art from the artist?
Yes.
When it comes to certain things.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So why is it the way I could do that?
Because everybody's a fucking emotional sheep.
No, it's because I'd rather be on the right side of things. That's what I feel it is. That's what.
I mean,
that's
there's
what
no such
it
thing
comes
as
down
ethical
to.
consumerism. There's not.
There is. In gaming, there is now. There is.
You're
This
never
has
gonna
been
win.
created.
You're never gonna win. If you like, let's say that we set up an Excel spreadsheet like those guys with the woke formula, basically, and we tried to make a formula that said this game is ethically consumer, like scale 1 to 10. That's ridiculous, dude. I'm not buying my game based on that. I'm buying a game based on if it's fun, and you are too. You've said it. We already know that you
Who
have
said that?
you have. You're like, I have simple brain. I don't want to fucking think about all this shit. I want to see if it's fun. You've said that multiple times.
I did. Okay, don't clip me. I don't want another clip of me.
And
Yes,
so
I did.
I'm kind of the same, but on terms of there being game features I'm interested in. And so I don't care if there's some kind of, if somebody's using it for some political war. I just want to play fun game.
So I get, so I can understand some people having an ethical type way when playing games and consuming stuff, because you gotta remember when Blizzard, when it came out that Blizzard, they had that whole thing with some of their female staff being sexually harassed and they got kind of pushed on the table. I know a decent amount of people that stopped playing all Blizzard games in total.
Mm-hmm.
Like they were diehard Blizzard fans. And it was like World of Warcraft was like their shit. Like this is like their life. But when that came out, they were like, I'm not doing this. Like there's a good amount of people did that.
Do you make your purchasing decisions based on trying to make the world a better place? Or do you make your purchasing decisions based on what you want? Because they are two separate things that often come in conflict. And I think that's where a lot of this problem lies.
So could you elaborate there?
So most people, when you say, oh, why aren't you buying this game online, it's usually, oh, well, they're pushing burr, 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 burr. I don't like this burr, 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 burr. And it has nothing to do with, hey, the game just doesn't have features that I'm looking for. It's like very emotionally charged, right? And I try to break it down for people and say, well, do any of the features sound like something you like? And they can't even name the features most of the time because they've not done any research. They're not looking for that. And the marketing often says the features, so it's clear that they're not even watching the trailers. I actually broke down a trailer of somebody like going through it and being like, well, this doesn't look good, this is, well, blah, 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 like all this stuff. It had nothing to do with what they were actually telling you about the game. Now, if they're lying about the game like they did with Cyberpunk, That's something to call out too. But most of the time, they're not actually analyzing the features of the games. They're just analyzing their emotions.
Okay, so do you think people who don't buy games because of emotional charged situations are making logical choices, or they're making
No.
immoral choices?
I think they're putting emotionally charged thoughts over gaming. And if they want to do that, that's their choice. But let's be very real. That is not going to make the best decision for what types of games we get if we want innovative, fun games, if we're making all of our decisions based around the artist instead of the art.
Oh, yeah, I get you. I get you.
You know?
So right now,
Like,
it
let's
just
say that
seems
we
like
found out every single game that you enjoy right now, every single game, this is an extreme, right? But like, let's say that every single person that made the games that you love turned out to be a serial killer. And you're like, well, now I can't love those games. They're murderers. The people who made them are murderers. Like, you still like the games, right? Like, they still brought you so much joy. They're still good games, right?
yeah.
And so if we try to analyze that with every fucking thing we buy, you drive yourself out goddamn nuts. Nobody's perfect. No company's perfect. No person is perfect.
That also leads into a different topic for another podcast that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
Like
That's
dying
true.
on the hill.
Yeah.
But staying on board, I agree with you. It gets to a point where it's like you don't know what to do, and you see a lot of people, they virtue signal about the stuff. And like, I'm not going to support this because of this. Doesn't have this for me, or this person in the company did this, and then they do it off screen. They play it off screen because I know there's tons of people who played that Harry Potter game off stream because they didn't want to be fucking attacked on stream because you already stood your ground. It was like, I'm gonna pay it because fuck J.K. Rowling. And there's people, and those same people play the game, different accounts. People act like you can't make another Steam account or PSN account and play the game off fucking line. And I'm not stupid.
Or they buy something else that is just as harmful to society and the things that they care about.
Exactly.
I mean, every time, because everything is going to have both good and bad consequences. That's just how it is. And to analyze every single one of those is impossible. It's impossible. If you can do your best, sure. If you want to put that as part of your priority because there's something you really care about in the world, go for it. But to judge other people and put that on other people is where I draw the line. Like, make the decision for yourself, but don't start going out and like putting your morals on someone else because that might not even be true. You're just guessing.
Exactly.
At the end of the day.
And it really feels like the damage is done because there's such a great divide amongst gamers now on woke and non-woke and what has to have this. And I really don't feel like it can be mended back together because a lot of these companies are now, it's just like Sweet Baby Inc. has caused companies to even shut down. A company, could you imagine you make a company and you're fucking thriving and the next day it's like shut down completely?
I think what that kind of points to more than anything is that gaming companies need to stop just taking money from anywhere and trying to make games too fucking big and selling them as more than they are. Like, it's not that the games are necessarily problematic in and of itself most of the time. You know, it's like, I mean, what I like to think about is like, we used to play at arcades or black and white games and we only had one or two for like, you know, a little tiny screen on a Game Boy. You know, it's like, and now the games are so crazy complex. It's like, we should be grateful when you look at it that way, of all of the things that gaming has accomplished in the last like 30 years, right? But people complain nonstop. And I think it's because it's gotten so overly complex that, again, we don't have the resources to be able to make the games that we are in a way that is what gamers apparently are wanting. And so you have to make a sacrifice somewhere. Do you just continue to make your art and have both sides yelling at you? And maybe you take money from one side or then you take money from the other, and either side is going to be mad at you. It's like, that's why I'm so over this whole narrative of like, oh, there's woke games. Oh, I want it to be woke or I don't want it to be woke. It's like, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't change whether I enjoy the features of the game, you know, at the end of the day. I don't want to be some pawn in somebody else's agenda. I just want to fucking buy the game if it has cool features. That's it. I don't care what political game you're playing. Period. Just count me out of it, you know?
Exactly. And now gaming companies, then when gaming companies release a game, they have to fucking sell.
Play a political
Because
game.
now
It's like it's a fucking political debate now.
you put your game out there, and it's
Yeah.
like you have to hope that you make your money back.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of you guys who are saying don't buy the game because the fucking dev did, because somebody in the company did X. You're hurting everybody. You're not hurting the big head of the company, the CEO. He's gonna be fine. You're hurting the devs because who gets laid off? Shit starts at the bottom and then goes up. If Sony, that portion of Sony, fucking Sony lost a shit ton of money.
Well, and can we talk about like
Outlaws,
the real truth on all of this?
What is it? Outlaws? What the fuck? What the hell was that game?
Concord?
Concord lost a lot of money for Sony.
Yeah.
You know, people getting fucking clipped right now in the offices.
But whoever's running it is going to be fine, right? And so if you look at who's running the show on both sides of the equation, if you take it, you trace the money all the way to the top, right? And you're looking at who's controlling the Sweet Baby Inc. side and who's controlling the anti-AAA agenda side. It all goes up to the same fucking people. They are sowing discourse to make everybody fight so that they make money either way. 100%.
Look at
That's
that game.
why Blackstone is so fucking big.
Yeah.
It's what they do. Y'all are falling
It's
for
like-
it. I don't know what to tell you.
I understand everybody wants to fucking be in the fucking political the right side of when it comes to social justice and you're doing the right thing, sticking it to the man. But like I said, on both sides, the modern gamer and the old school gamer, woke versus anti-woke, you're hurting the small guys because the little guys get taken out first.
Well, I also just don't think we need to stick it to the man. You know, that's so much work. You can just like fucking leave the man on his hill by himself.
At the same time, I am for sticking it to the man. As somebody who's an anarchist and says fuck the government at times. It's just that you have to make sure that you're doing the right thing and you're not doing it because of such minuscule things. I'm not saying if a company has multiple cases of people being sexually harassed and abused is like, oh, I don't care about that. I fucking do. I do. It's fucking wrong. The people at the higher up should be fucking punished. It's the people at the higher and replace those guys.
Okay, but let's be very, very honest about that. Whether or not we buy the game shouldn't be the thing that affects that.
But it is. That's how the game makes the money. That's how they make their money.
Here's how it should go in a perfect world, right?
Let's hit the perfect
game
world.
Doesn't matter for what's going on behind the scenes. The product is separate from whatever's going on behind the scenes, separating the art and the artist, right?
Correct.
And so what they should do is press charges, do whatever they need to do with those people.
Yeah.
Don't let them get rich off of it. But it doesn't, still buy the game. They weren't the only ones involved. Like, if you want the game, still buy the game. Just because it was made by someone who's, everybody's evil. Everybody's good and evil. It's just, nobody's perfect. I can agree with that. You know?
I can't agree. I could agree with you.
If we didn't buy a game because somebody fucking sinned, made a mistake, whatever you want to call it, every single, like, throw the first stone, honestly, like, truly, like, where are you going to find a game that was made by perfect people in a perfect company? It's literally impossible.
You never are. And it's I don't know. It seems like before we used to just complain about games being stupid and it just sucks. Now we gotta see about games have to have a political agenda, or it has to have a female lead, a black lead, a gay lead. It has to have this aspect, has to have that aspect. Even movies and shows. If it doesn't click these fucking boxes, you're gonna upset somebody. Right now we got a discourse with the show fucking Ring of Power, the Lord of the Rings thing. The show is on its third season, and like it's going on its third season, but a lot of people's like, this show is so bad. Like, who's keeping it alive? When you look at Star Wars, the Acolyte show, it got one season and it got shut down because like shit didn't make sense. Mm-hmm. Nothing makes sense because like it was mainly because the lead actress, she was just a bad actress. She was a bad actor.
I've actually seen her act in other stuff, and she wasn't bad, so I don't really know what happened there. I haven't seen the Acolyte, but it sounds like it was bad. Yeah.
But the thing is, like, these same people is like, don't criticize us. Don't criticize us. We can say things, but don't criticize us. And you got to understand something. We live in a world where anything you say, you will be criticized. Anything you do. And I don't understand why people have this notion like you can say or do whatever you want and you expect no one to say, hold on, let me criticize
Well,
you.
I'm kind of that mindset. I think that a lot of people who criticize and don't actually create anything for themselves are actually cowards, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's a
100%. Because everybody's a critic, but nobody fucking creates anything for themselves, so they don't know. There's so many people who are consumer mindset, and they have never fucking had the balls to do it themselves. And so they go and they critique, and that's all they have. So they get this like little high of superiority because they think they fucking have something that the others don't. You didn't fucking create anything. Go create something. Go show off. Go do it if you think you're so good.
Let's do this. Let's do this. We're gonna. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get.
Go create a game if you think you're that cool. Go create a PS5 if you think you can do it better. That's my perspective.
I'm gonna get very debateful on you right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you buy products right now? Do you own any products right now that you have gripes with? Let's start something very simple.
Of course.
Food.
Yeah.
Food.
Of course.
Right. So you buy foods. You buy your coffee based off of what?
Right now I buy it based off of the company that I decided I wanted, that I liked enough to promote.
Okay. So, but when you have the coffee, what do you look for in the coffee?
I like having a variety of flavors that taste really good black because I don't like to put stuff.
Do you make your own coffee?
Yeah, I do. Pour
No,
over.
do you actually make your own coffee? Do you create your own coffee?
From start to finish?
Yes.
No.
Okay, so why can you say anything about coffee? You're a critic. You're a consumer, though.
I don't go write reviews and talk shit on the internet about it. I don't write reviews on the internet.
But here's the thing. At the end of the day,
I analyze things. I don't write reviews. I think reviews generally are fucking stupid. I think that the whole system of reviews is stupid. I analyze things. There's a difference. I look at the good and bad, and I don't apply a bunch of crazy emotions to it.
So hold on, right? You are a critic, and you do criticize it. You may not criticize it in a public way. Hold on, we get there. See, this is how. You criticize it in
you gotta let me learn some debate rules.
I'm just talking to you. I'm talking to you.
You gotta let me learn some debate rules here.
As an associate to associate. Let's just we're having a healthy conversation. You're criticizing it in a way where it's internal and it's local amongst you and your peers.
I'm not criticizing it. Here's the difference.
But wait.
No, but I'm not. I'm telling you. You are putting words in my mouth. Let me answer your question. Let me answer your question. You're not letting me answer your question.
I'm not finishing it. My question isn't finished.
No, because you are putting words in my mouth. I'm not criticizing it.
Okay.
I'm analyzing it. There's a difference. Looking at the positive and negative of anything is analysis. Looking at only the bad and talking about only one side is when you're criticizing it. And nobody has the right to do that if they've never done it themselves.
So, criticizing is also based on pros and cons of something and giving a final verdict. You yourself make a analysis, right? As you said, analysis based on the pros and cons of said coffee bean or coffee product, right? Taste, its quality, its grain, and so forth, right? Now, me as an associate, if I come to you and say, hey, I'm interested in buying X coffee, right? I see that you drink it. Can you give me your feedback on it, right? You can tell me, no, don't buy because XYZ.
I never say that. Here's what I say. And here's the thing, because I'm not a critic. What I do is I say, here's what I like about it. Here's where I find the pros and cons. Here's who I think it's for based on what I enjoy. There's no objective fucking truth in mine. That's not a critic. No, what critics do and what game reviewers do is they say, oh, this is a good game or this is a bad game. I don't do that. I say this is a game I like or dislike. There's a huge difference between that.
But
I am able to look at the differences and say, here are distinct qualities that could be for somebody who thinks differently than I do. And there are so few people on the internet doing that.
Movie critics and
they don't do that. They don't do that.
Yes, they do.
They do not. They give their whole opinion. They're like in flowy, beautiful language, and they tell about their experience, and they don't offer any actual meaningful data for me as a person to decide if I want to see it. If I want to see it.
You're looking at the wrong person who's criticizing it, because many movie critics will say the movie has a lot of features that can resonate with people who are of XYZ. It
That is
resonated with me
so
with this.
rare.
It has
That is
some
so rare because they're doing
features.
these 1
It's
out of
not
5
rare.
rankings.
It's not rare. It's not
It's
rare.
so
It's been
rare.
done before. It's been
so
done, and
rare.
it still
I've
happens.
read so many, like, I'll read
So-
like reviews after I watch something. You know, I rarely
So-
will read them before now because they're not good indicators of anything.
So at the end of the day, me and you as consumers, we are critics. We may not be critics in a way of
I'm not a critic.
we're
I'm trying
writing
to
it
tell you
down.
that, dude. I'm not a critic.
You are a critic.
I'm not a
You are
critic. I'm an analyst.
You
There's
don't
a
wanna-
difference. There's a
Okay.
big difference.
Analysts, you're analyzing things. You literally analyze and break down stuff, and you're looking at the pros and cons of whatever
Okay,
you're
so
breaking down.
here's the
Critics-
difference. Here's the difference. A critic is looking to criticize. They are looking for it. As an analyst, I am looking to just analyze the thing. Okay, I'm
And
not looking
critics
at
analyze
it from,
and
like, I'm
break
going to
it down
have my own
too.
personal bias, but I'm not looking to prove a point. And so a lot of people are looking to say, "Oh, this has this and this and this and this, and I'm going to prove it," right? And so when these people
Okay.
come in from either Sweet Baby Inc. or anti AAA, they're coming in with something to prove. I'm looking at the
Okay.
game and saying, like, do I think it's fun? Here's the elements. Let me break them down factually and then tell you my opinion of those facts. And you can decide for yourself and filter for yourself what you think. Period.
Okay, but again,
I'm not being a
we're-
critic. I'm not going to
We're
criticize it.
speaking. So this,
There's a
you're
difference.
here. You're here because we just stay here. Are you getting?
Because you're putting
You
words
are-
in my mouth.
I'm not putting words in your mouth. You are
I'm
criticizing
not a critic.
things.
I'm literally telling
based
you I'm not.
and you're criticizing it based in a small bubble amongst your peers. But
No,
going
I'm
back,
not
going back to it.
I'm
wait,
not
wait,
a critic,
wait,
dude.
hold on.
There's a
Going back,
difference.
you analyzing it. You don't make your own coffee beans from scratch. What gives you the right to analyze it?
Because I'm looking at the elements of it. And I can say this,
Same
and this.
thing as critics.
No, I'm not. The same thing as a critic, because a critic's going into it trying to prove something. So, okay, here's the thing. You know data. You know data analytics. So with data analytics, you come into it with an open mind and you look at the data. I look at the data. I say, here's the features. Here's what it
Okay.
does. Here's how I feel about it. But that doesn't mean that's how everyone's going to feel about it. So, for instance,
Correct.
I hated RDR2. Other people
Okay.
love RDR2. So when I talk about RDR2, I can talk about it in a negative or positive context for the same feature, depending on who the audience is.
Okay, so what did you do with Red Dead Redemption 2? What did you give? You gave a review of it based off your own experience, or did you do an analysis of it?
An analysis of it. There's a
You
difference.
did analysis of it.
Yeah.
You did analysis
Now,
of it.
in
And did you
live
give-
content, obviously,
Did you give
Did
you give it a score for yourself? Did you give
No.
it an internal score?
No.
You
I
just
don't
said it's not
fucking
for
do.
you.
I try not to do internal scores for the most part.
But you didn't like the game, right?
I didn't like it. No.
So would you not say that's what
I think
You
there's plenty of people
criticized
who
it?
fucking love it, dude. And I have.
But did you
I have-
criticize it in a way?
No, I have multiple times. Actually, just this week, I wrote a positive article about RDR2
Okay.
because I
Okay.
can see both sides. I'm not a critic.
Okay.
Because that's what an analyst does. You look at the features and you look at both
what
sides.
makes you the person to do that if you don't create your own video games?
I'm analyzing.
I-
There's a difference between
I
analyzing
blew
and
your
critiquing.
mind. I saw that.
No,
I saw
no,
that
I'm
too.
trying to figure out what the fuck. See, you're trying to lead me. This is why I don't like debate. You're trying to lead me somewhere and putting words in my mouth versus actually listening to my words.
I'm listening
Because
to your words.
I'm analyzing it as a human being, as a consumer, but I'm not trying to put my perspective as the objective truth. That's the fucking difference. These critics, they come out here and they're like, I'm right and you're wrong. I don't say that anymore because I learned my lesson. Because I
get you,
realized
I
it was
get
fucking
you.
stupid to do that. That's what I'm
I
trying to
get
tell
you.
you. So these people on these sides, separate from me, are saying, I'm right, I'm right. Neither of them are fucking right. That's why I'm trying to be in the middle and say, here's positive aspects, here's negative aspects, here's where it leans towards this, here's where it leans towards this, here's how I feel about it, and being very open and transparent. That's the big difference, too, is transparency. I'm very transparent about where I sit with all this. So when I say, hey, here's my recommendation about Until Dawn remake, here's who I think it's for, here's who I don't think it's for, I very upfront say, hey, I'm a big fan of this game. I bought it because I'm a fan and I play it every year. If you're not a big fan, you might not like this at all, you know? And so whereas other people are trying to sell you on some specific idea because they're on these extreme sides. I'm trying to stay in the middle.
Sounds like you're a good critic.
No, I'm an analyst. There's a difference. I look at the data because what a critic's doing is they're looking to manipulate the data to their bias. That's the difference. I'm not looking to manipulate the data to my bias. I'm forming my bias based on the data.
I feel like, okay, everything you're saying sounds just like a old school critic.
It's an
You're
analyst.
analyzing, you break it. Wait, just hold on, because I'm convinced, because I see in your head, like I see like a vein popping out, like, are you gonna kill me?
Because you're fucking putting words in my mouth. I'm not a critic. A critic is literally looking to criticize something.
But I'm saying, just hold on. This is, I gotta stop, because
the opposite sides are marketers and critics.
Yes.
I'm not a fucking critic. There's analysts in the middle who are looking at the actual data.
I'm just saying, we're all critics in our own way.
We're not. Some of us are, because some people are marketers.
Some people are marketers.
There's
some people are analysts. But at the end of the day, we all criticize something internally for ourselves.
We're talking about the people with agendas. Not like your whole life story, dude. We're talking about people who come out and they're trying to criticize a game or they're trying to market a game based on opposite principles.
I can't wait.
We're not talking about a whole life fucking story, dude. We're not talking about everything you've ever done. We're talking about these people are coming in with a specific goal, and to meet that, they are criticizing. These people are coming in with a specific goal, and to meet that, they are manipulating and marketing. Both sides are being manipulative in different ways. It's not about whether you've ever fucking criticized something. You're breaking it down to this foundational level that doesn't apply in the level that we're actually looking at.
But this is going for hours. We just have to have our little friendly debate. But you see how it works with the tactics. How, like you said, I'm leading
manipulative. You put words in my mouth. It's manipulative because I'm not criticizing. I told you, I just proved to you it's on a spectrum and you agreed. Marketing and critic. Analyst is in the middle, and I told you I'm in the middle. Do we all have thoughts on either side? Yes. But when you have a specific goal in mind, you can do either one side of the spectrum. And that's what they're doing. It's not that they've never said anything nice in their life if they're on the critic side, or said anything mean in their life if they're on the positive side. It's that they are coming at it from the specific bias to accomplish a purpose.
So
and
you're saying that
they're doing it for a purpose.
So you're saying there's no critics that come in as a neutral ground.
Correct. It's a critic is automatically the extreme side from marketing to critic.
That's where we disagree.
Analysis is in the middle.
That's where we disagree.
And I think I think we might just have a different definition of the word.
Yes, I think that's where the discourse comes into play.
Because to me, critic is criticize.
Critics. I'm not having this conversation anymore. I got a word.
I think we've established that we're just defining it differently. I think we have, because I think we both agree that it's two different ends of the spectrum. You just think you think that critics analyze, and I don't, because I haven't seen any critics ever, to be honest, actually have a good opinion.
The
like
point,
a valid opinion.
The main point I was trying to make when you read it back to what you said, like, I feel people shouldn't criticize anything if they never created on things.
No, I don't think they should criticize nonstop all the time about everything if they've never created anything. It's like these people bitch and moan, but they don't have the guts to fucking try it themselves. It's like, so it's one thing to say, hey, I don't really like this game very much, if they really want to criticize. It's one thing to be a critic if you really want to. I don't like this game, blah, 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 this is why. It's another thing to say, I hate the entire gaming industry. If you hate the entire gaming industry, go fucking make your own game if you're that upset about it. That's where I have an issue. Because they don't have the balls to fucking try it themselves. Like, if you think it's that bad and you think there's some hole in the market, go fill it. Go do it. If you're that right. If you're that confident in it. Otherwise, I don't fucking trust you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you. You. It's just good to see. You just get a taste of my debate tactics and stuff.
This is why I don't want to debate you, because I need to study up on. I don't know debate tactics, but that was very manipulative. You were putting words in my mouth, and we had a different definition of the word to begin with.
Yes.
So,
but I was trying to lead you. I was trying to lead you into my ideology.
Leading is manipulative. Let's be real.
Yeah,
leading is a manipulation tactic.
But that's how it works. But usually with a lot of debates, it's like,
I'd rather actually debate facts, not lead people into a manipulative tactic.
Yeah. So but the next time when
And
we
that's
do
why I was
actually have a
yelling, because
debate,
I felt you fucking like putting words, leading me to very specific premise rather than actually listening to the words I was saying.
I did listen to the words you were saying, but at the
And then
same time, I was trying
and
to
then
lead.
you put words in my mouth.
I was trying to lead you back to my
To your point,
because
exactly, which is not how you
exactly.
should debate. A debate should be actually bringing up facts and being able to argue either side.
I did bring up facts. I did a bit of facts. I
You
did.
put words in my
I
mouth.
no. I brought up. Okay. I brought up facts of how things are freaking done with the criticism.
I think the
You were
biggest thing,
saying
I think the biggest, most important thing that came from that is we realized we agreed on the actual premise we were talking about, and we disagreed on a
agreed
definition.
on something,
Yeah.
and that just goes to show you we are not the same mind because, as you just saw, we don't agree on something like that. And there's a lot we don't agree and disagree on, which we will have a healthy conversation debate about pirating or emulating, and
We will, yeah. But I've got
it's gonna
I've
be a
got to
good
read
one.
some debate tactics. So if you're gonna manipulate me, I can do it right back.
I'm just gonna no, I'm not
I
gonna
don't want to
manipulate you.
manipulate.
I'm
I
just
don't
gonna
want that. I would rather just us talk. You know,
we're going to talk,
we
but
don't
I'm
need to
going
lead
to
each other to certain things. We can just
I'm
fucking look at the like, because the thing is, we could argue the way to debate in the best possible way is knowing that it's not about one side winning. It's about uncovering information, which is what we just did, right? What we were able to do,
yes.
but only because I pushed back on your manipulation tactic. To
But
be
that was
honest.
but that was more like a conversation. But in an actual, when it comes to debate, it's going there's the positive, there's the for side and against side, and just bring in the facts, like you said, bring the facts.
Yeah.
So I will be bringing facts on why I feel go ahead, fucking pirate and emulations is and not stealing because of the current way companies are starting to go.
Yeah.
And you're for, what are you for again? With
People
it,
being
you're
able to
saying
make money
pirating
off of
and
their
emulating
art.
is
People
is
being able to
stealing.
make money from their art is what I'm
Yeah.
like.
But
as
to
paying
wrap-
for things as you should.
Yeah.
But yeah, to like go back to the center
And
equation here.
and to wrap this all up,
Yeah.
Sweet Baby Inc. wanted to destroy the gaming industry from within, and it has accomplished that. The gamers are divided. No one knows what they want anymore, and when they get what they want, it's not good enough. Video game companies rather just make remakes after remakes to play it safe, and anything new we are quick to call woke, pandering, or DEI, and it's all because a small group of people came in and said we want this and we're going to do this, and mission accomplished. So we don't know what's the future of gaming is going to hold. Hopefully it'll change. Hopefully it'll go back to what it used to be. But all I have to say is keep it simple. If this game isn't really for you, don't buy it. And I am 100% for it. If these game companies aren't really fucking selling us and stuff, we just don't buy the games and the company just wither away and disappear.
Yeah, I mean, I think that most of the discourse surrounding gaming right now doesn't have to do with the games themselves, and I'm personally trying to bring that back, and I think you want that too. I think we're both kind of. It's why I think you and I both have more or less the same goal, even if we're coming at it from two different perspectives, and that's what's going to make for obviously interesting content all the way through this podcast. And the funny thing is that's exactly what's happening out there is these people want to destroy gaming and they have the same goal of doing that. We're on the side of we don't want gaming to be destroyed. We just want good games, and we're coming at that from two different perspectives. So it's the thing is you have to filter it for yourself, and a lot of people just don't think about what they actually want. They're just going along with what people tell them. 1984, just groupthink, 2-minute hate. It's like, whatever your favorite creator is telling you, you just listen to. Like, how many times do you even question it? Think about it, because a lot of times it's just Eurasia, East Asia, whatever they tell you to hate today is what you're going to hate. And it's like, think for yourself. Why are you letting other people tell you what to think on either side? Whether that's people you think are preaching at you. Honestly, I feel more preached at by the people saying that we're being preached at than the actual suggested preaching at this point, because it's just constant from both sides saying like, oh, we need this or this and that. Who the fuck cares? Just play whatever you want to play. Don't listen to me or Dela on what you want to play. Fucking play what you want to play.
Yeah, do what's best for you. If it makes you happy, it makes you happy. If you don't want to play because you want to look out for your community, don't fucking do it. But at the end of the day, don't let people fucking control you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know if I was trying to manipulate her into swaying her, and how you guys feel about this topic. I'm Della,
I'm mad curious.
and this has been another episode of Unfiltered Gamers. Let me see you
in the
guys in the next one. Bye.